Hey, so today I'm going to be doing a game analysis of one of my favorite games, Hades. It is a hack and slash roguelite by Supergiant Games, and it is one of the only narrative, not inspired, but inclusive games that I have played for hundreds of hours. And what I want to focus on is how the mechanical design feeds into the narrative that it creates. Although it is less story-based, the narrative adds a lot of flavor into the game that helps you immerse yourself into the character. So, let's begin. So, your goal is to kill your father Hades and escape Tartarus. In order to do so, you'd have to be really good at the game the first time, or you have to get resources throughout playthroughs and get darkness and keys, which are your resources to unlock new weapons, and power up yourself using the Mirror of Darkness. There are alternative ways of getting powerful, usually ones in-game, and the biggest element of the game that you will immediately notice is being able to choose a boon. So, after you defeat a room, you are rewarded with a boon that gives you one of multiple options to continue the playthrough with. Basically, that's how you scale in the game. And each boon is provided by a god, and that also has its own unique voice lines and such. So that's part of where the flavor comes in, where the god giving you one of their power-ups involves them talking to you first and just kind of saying how you're their favorite nephew and such. They all have their own personalities, and you can usually tell that just from their voice lines, which I think is super cool. You are also able to have more deep interactions with people when you're not hacking and slashing. So there are people like Charon, which is the shop seller. There's your father back in the hub world that you get to after you die. And there are a few other characters that you can talk to and interact with, both during the actual gameplay and outside of the hub world. And the way that they treat you depends on what you have previously done. So, if you have given them a lot of gifts, they will remember that, and you can eventually become a lover to the character. Or, if you just talk to them a lot, they'll be good friends with you, more or less. The narrative itself is pretty simple. All you are trying to do is escape Asphodel. Escape Hell, really. By defeating your father at the top. And eventually, after you do this a few times, you beat your mother. And now we have this little drama where your mother left Hell because she didn't like it there with your father. And your father's Hades. And you keep going up there to try to talk to her, but you can't stay there for long because you don't belong there. So you're eventually sent back down, and the story will progress in such a way that eventually she's allowed to go back down and hang out, basically. This is a nice touch to you finishing the game, but it's not really the bread and butter. The bread and butter is being able to come back to the surface, going back down and talking to all these people, giving them gifts, and having different build varieties that allow you to continue playing the game. It might not be a story like The Last of Us or Uncharted, but it's a story that is mainly meant to immerse yourself into the game. And the thing about the gameplay is it is very, very easy to just play the game again and again. It's incredibly addictive just because it has a crazy amount of replayability. There are 6 different weapons. Each of them have 4 different weapon options, and there is a vast array of trinkets alongside these little toys that your lovers will give you. Basically, there is thousands and thousands of different runs that you can start off with, and when you actually get in game, the randomness of whatever boon you get and whatever upgrades you get during the run also help increase the variety a decent amount. Now, when you actually dive deeper into the game, what you're going to find is a level of strategic repetition. Basically, you take this boon at this point in the game because it helps your build do this. Is that a bad thing? No, that's just the advent of strategy. Where I think the game shines is with duo boons, legendary boons. They are cooler gifts from the gods, where either 2 different gods have collaborated to give you this one gift, or one god is awarding you a much stronger gift that is representative of your god. And they're not always necessarily super powerful. They're just unique, rare options that make your gameplay experience different. For example, one of them from Poseidon just makes all of your areas have more places where you can fish. And on the more combat side, one of them from Athena just gives you a shield every once in a while that prevents damage. So these options allow you to play the game differently, right next to my other favorite mechanic in the game, which is armor. So every floor, there are 4 different floors, has different enemies. And these enemies can usually just be hack and slash, and then you dodge whatever attack, if you can't kill all of them at the same time, which you usually can't. But sometimes an enemy will spawn with armor, and armor makes it so the enemy cannot be knocked back or stunned whenever you hit it until you break the armor. So what this makes you do as a player is pay attention to what each enemy is, what they do, and attack accordingly and dodge accordingly until you break the armor. I think all of these combined elements, not to mention art, honestly, because art really does tie it together, and voice acting, all of them together really create this cohesive experience that allows the player to feel like they really are in a Hades world, while at the same time wanting to continue playing the game, unlocking these future narrative elements, and unlocking new playable weapons and playable upgrades and trinkets, and finding these relationships with people. You very literally are getting better at the game if you are able to give gifts to everybody and create these stronger relationships. It's not super sappy, which I enjoy, but at the same time, it has that little moral story where it tells you if you are a good person, you will become stronger overall. I don't think that is something the game designers intended necessarily, but I think it's a nice little touch that I've noticed throughout my playthrough of the game. So overall, Hades is an amazing game with plenty of replayability for anyone who enjoys the hack and slash and or the roguelike genre. And I think the tying in of the narrative elements really puts the game together and makes it different than most of the other games of similar genre that we've ever seen before.